The motorcycle rumbled to a halt in time travel to Alaska. We are on Friday, August 15, 2025, date of Trump and Putin meeting. This video was made 3 days ago. We slipped inside invisible and unheard, finding our seats at the table where the two world leaders were to meet. First, Trump arrived a few minutes early, surveying the room with a theatrical sweep of his hand. He smoothed his suit, adjusted his red tie, and took a sip of water, his mind already running through a list of his staff recommendations. He was thinking about the results of this meeting, the headlines it would generate, the story told about the meeting. Donald Trump's background as a reality television star shaped his entire worldview. Learned his trade not in diplomatic circles, but in the cutthroat world of New York City business, where deals were brokered with a mix of bluster, charm, and some risk-taking. His education at Wharton honed his understanding of finance and branding. He had a habit of dominating conversations using simple declarative sentences and often repeating phrases for emphasis. He saw every interaction as a negotiation, every meeting as a chance to win. His approach to the discussion would be less about subtle diplomacy and more about forging a grand, public-facing agreement. Yet there were deeper, more personal currents at play. He was deeply concerned with how his core MAGA base would perceive this meeting, needing to present it not as a compromise, but as a victory. The specter of the Epstein files and the potential for any unwanted revelations was also quite nagging worry. Most of all, he was looking at Putin not just as a pure political counterpart, but as a model, a man who had perfected the art of staying in power undefended. The unspoken question on his mind was, can I do it? Then Putin entered. He moved with a quiet, almost predatory grace, his eyes keen and assessing, took in every detail of the room and Trump's posture. He offered a small, knowing smile as he took his seat, his thoughts as impenetrable as a frozen lake. He was thinking of power, of strategy, and of the long game. The meeting was a chess match, and he was already several moves ahead. Vladimir Putin's history was a stark contrast forged in the secretive, disciplined world of the KGB. He earned a law degree from Leningrad State University, but his true education came through his years as an intelligence officer. This background instilled in him a deep-seated preference for information, leverage, and the long-term geopolitical chess match. His habits were those of an operator. He spoke with a measured, deliberate cadence, revealing only what was necessary and keeping his true intentions hidden. He was trained to observe, analyze, and to find the weaknesses of his opponents. His approach to the meeting would not be about public spectacle, but about a calculated exchange of ideas. For every word had a purpose, and every gesture was a potential tool of influence. He had a grand, sweeping vision for Russia, a silent roadmap he carried in his mind. This meeting was just one small piece of a much larger plan to find a way to annex Ukraine in the long run, to gain subtle but significant control over Europe's energy and politics, and ultimately to see the North Atlantic Treaty organization dismantled. With this new order, he envisioned keeping China weak and dependent on Russia's resources, while rendering the United States so insignificant on the global stage that Russia would once again rise as a flourished, unshakable empire. At some point, he even dreamt of this rich cold Alaska that was once Russian. Their initial greetings were carefully calibrated gestures, prompt with a booming laugh and a firm handshake, a show of television style, Putin with a nod and a slight good grip, a signal of Russian reserve and calculation. As they spoke, a fascinating contrast emerged. Trump's words were a cascade, a torrent of anecdotes, his voice filling the room with grand pronouncements. He was trying to steer the conversation toward Zelensky, European leaders, a swap of territories, and a potential ceasefire, presenting himself as the ultimate deal maker who could bring a speedy end to the conflict. He spoke of a future where America and Russia would work together to reshape the world, a glorious united front against unseen enemies. Putin, however, deftly parried every attempt to involve other parties. His cold gaze and minimalist advice made it clear that he preferred to deal with Trump alone, bypassing the cumbersome process of multilateral diplomacy. He listened to the proposals of a ceasefire and territory swaps with a dismissive air, his mind set on a different goal. He would agree, for now, to a deal that would allow him to keep all the territories inhabited by Russians, even these under Ukrainian control. He also kept the territories occupied by Russian forces, and what he privately referred to as the occupied territory liberated from the Nazis. He would leave the rest for Ukraine, but only until later he thought, a silent promise to himself, that his ambitions were not yet set. He was concentrated on the bigger picture, how to neutralize the United States without ever firing a shot, using this partnership to undermine American influence and pave the way for his empire. They met for nearly 2 hours, their conversation a mix of bold declarations and quiet subtext. Trump was imagining the headlines, Trump and Putin forged unprecedented alliance. Putin was imagining the geopolitical ripples this meeting would cause, the dominoes he could set in motion. Finally, the meeting drew to a close. Their departure was as telling as the arrival. Trump rose with a flourish, his handshake a final powerful grip, his voice full of praise for the very productive discussion. Putin's handshake was brief, his smile unchanged, his final words a concise and polite farewell. He left the room without a backward glance, a man who had said everything he needed to say without saying much at all. As they went their separate ways, we faded back into the present, the magic motorcycle waiting to take us home. The chilly Alaskan air was gone, replaced by the familiar hum of the engine and the dry air of North Africa, and the discovery that Putin gave Trump a request to force others to sign.